Welcome. In this tutorial we are going to look at using Photoshop to create the artwork to bring into Figma to create a movie website prototype. So the first thing that we want to do is to create our new file inside of Photoshop, and when we choose our options here, we have a lot of options. What we care about is we're going to use our pixel dimensions, and the size we're doing is the frame size for a MacBook Air as set up inside Figma, so it's 1280 by 832, so that gives us a decent proportion. We want to set our resolution to 72 pixels. So those are the three values that we set: width, height, and resolution. So it's important to set those. Notice it should show up as a landscape image, not as a portrait, because we're designing for a computer. We are not designing for mobile devices. We'll look at doing that in a future installment. So again, 1280, 832, 72, those are the three numbers we want to work with, and then I click create, and now it comes up. So Photoshop's come up. We have options to, hey, let's import an image if we want to. And we're not going to import an image because we don't want to place the images in, because the images are really big that I have acquired for this project. So if I look at my window of images, I will see that these images are 2500 by 1677. This one is 5700 by 3800. So we can see that they're significantly bigger than what we're going to need. So if we import them in, we're going to bring our documents into this a little bit differently. So if I have my Explorer or Finder window open, I can shift select all of the documents here. I can right click and choose open with Adobe Photoshop. That's one way to do it. If my dock is down on the bottom, I can drag down to my dock and that will open as well. And the third way that we can do it is we can just choose File, Open, and I can now navigate to my documents that I am looking for, and again shift select all of these documents, and then I will hit Open. And now we wait for a moment while Photoshop opens all of those documents on the computer. So right now I can see a few of them. If I click the double arrows over here, I will see all of them. I do have my untitled document here. This is my main file. So before I do anything else, I'm just going to choose Save As. I have previously chose the option to save on my computer. The first time you choose Save, your Photoshop may have the little option where it's like wanting to save it into your cloud account, and you can check the box, no, I want to save on my computer or drive. So I'm going to give it a name. It's going to go into that folder since it's the last one I visited, and I don't need to worry about the format because we are saving in the Photoshop format. This allows us to have all the layers for our document. So it's a good practice to do that before you start adding things to it. So I'm going to go look through my documents here and try and find the one. I believe this is the document I want. This will be the main background for my site that I'm going to work with. I'll probably tweak this a little bit, but I'm going to bring this over. Now if I use the image pull down menu and go under image size, I will see that this is, well, that's inches, but I can look up here and see it's 6000 by 4000 pixels, so yeah, it's a little big. So if I bring this over, we will have to then scale it down. If I can see the other tab that I want to work with, because I have so many open, I can't, because I want to be able to drag from this tab over to this tab, so that is a little bit problematic. So as we start adding our assets over, we will close tabs to make a little more room. In the meantime, I'm just going to go under Select and choose Select All. It's Command or Control A. That selects it, and now I am going to copy that, which is Command or Control C, and now click on the arrows over here, go to my main file, paste it in, and you can see, wow, that's really big. So if I zoom out, I can use the magnifying glass over here, and then right now it's on zoom in. If I click on the minus, it zooms out, or Command or Control plus or minus on the computer zooms in and out. You can also hold down Alt or Option on your keyboard and use the mouse wheel. If you have a mouse wheel, available to you on your computer. Now I'll click back on my select here. Now when we're in Photoshop, we pay attention to what's happening along the top. This is a context-sensitive toolbar. We also have down at the bottom, we have our contextual taskbar. This thing floats around and it tries to guess based on what tool we have active, what layer is selected, does the best guess as to what it thinks we might want to do. So now I'm going to zoom out and we can see here is my project and here is that photo I brought in. So if I just start scaling here, and then again hold down Alt so I can zoom back in, we can see, proportion wise it's going to be pretty close to what I want. What I don't want is any white to show, so I'm just going to get it kind of close. And I'm perfectly happy losing some on the bottom. I want more kind of empty space on the top. So once I've done that, I click done here, or I click the check mark up at the top here to signify I'm happy with this. I commit to this transformation. I click on the circle with the line through it if I'm not happy. So I'll say, yep, I'm happy there. We'll see now it added that as a new layer. We have eyeballs, we can turn layers on and off, and we'll be using that particular feature pretty extensively as we do this. So this will be the main background that I'm going to run across most of the pages as I work. So I'm just going to rename this main image. And now that is set. So after we've done this, what I want to do is figure out, I want to add some text across the top that I'm going to work with here. So I'm going to have some basic text items that I'll be using for my project. So I'm going to just grab the text tool and we are going to add the text. This will be my primary navigation across the top. Now I can see it's remembering the last thing I used. Apparently, oh, well now I just changed it, but I was using Roboto, bold. You can choose whatever font you want. Size, currently my text will be red. First time you click on your text tool, it will be black. First time you click on your text tool, it will also be Myriad Pro at probably 12 points, which will be rather small. So I know I don't want this red, but I'm going to just work with that right now. I'm going to click here. We can see that's how big my text is. So I'm going to put some text in and then I will work on coloring and resizing it. So I first want to use home on this, and we can zoom in or out. I don't know why when I'm zoomed, okay, it was still showing that ipsum. So I can click there again. I'm using the text tool. So we have home, and then I'm going to next have, probably need to put more spaces between things. Might need to, well, for sure we'll have to change the size. We'll have cast, and then I will have, actually, I'm just going to call it story instead of synopsis. Home, trailer, cast, story, and then finally tickets. Okay, so if that's all I have, my sizing isn't too far off. I'm just going to put a few extra spaces between these to kind of move them out. Now we can see we do need to shrink it down. So I can Command or Control A on my text and select it that way. I can also just switch back to the Move tool. So I do have the Show Transform controls on, so then that's there. But what I would prefer to do while I'm working with this is not to scale it using those commands, but instead, let's cancel that, to just change the text. That's going to give me a little bit more control. Let's go down to 60. I think I'm even going to go a little bit smaller there. Now if I didn't want a background behind my text, if I just want it to be on top of the image, then we just need to find a color that I'm happy with. So we can see I kind of like choosing a color that's there. So if I zoom out, so we're using a color that's in my image. I kind of like how that looks. So I'm going to go with that. I'm not really a big fan of this font at the moment, so we're going to go through and maybe choose something else. I mean, I actually like Arial Black better for this, but I'm trying to find something. Not loving that. Helvetica New. Meh. It's doable. Not a fan there. Of course, you know, if we wanted to be all folksy and use marker felt, it's not a great font for your working text. You might be able to get away with that for your title text or something like that. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to go with that right now. I mean, actually, we'll do Skia right now. I like that better. And because it's a little heavier, I'm going to just shrink that down a little bit more. And now again, I can use my mouse wheel, holding down Alt or Option to scroll and make things bigger or smaller. Command plus and minus moves it around as well. So if I want to just put this on the left hand side so it sits there like that, or if I want it centered, you know, we have that as an option as well. So I can center it. You can see how it's giving me these kind of helpers here. What I don't want is I don't want text right up against the edge. I need some type of margin. We want it either centered across the whole thing. I'm going to decide I want it to be more left justified. Now, if I did want to have a shape or something behind on that edge there, I certainly could do that. A couple of different ways that we could pull it off is I could use rectangular marquee, I could add a layer, and I could then draw a shape and fill it with color. Another option is under my vector tools down at the bottom. Notice we have selection tools, then we have brush tools, then we have utility tools and vector tools, of which here we have the shape tool. So I'm going to choose the rectangle tool. I know I don't want it to be red. So I want it to be kind of one of these darker colors. So it was pinging somewhere out here. I can't quite nail the exact pixel. Maybe a little. Oh, sure, there it was. Yeah, we'll go put a little more on it. I mean, yeah, we could go really different, and I mean, you know, pull off some of that red that is here. Oh, that's not going to work. Zoom in a little bit more. All right, yeah, I like that. It's a little pinker, a little less cherry. So now with my vector tool selected, I can just simply draw a box across the top. So then that creates my... Now I do have snapping turned on, so it's like auto snapping right there. If I want a little more flexibility with it, then what we might want to do is grab the move tool, can move it down, but I could also go under view, and then we have snap and snap 2. We can see where it's snapping. We can turn that off, and then that makes it a little more flexible as you work. So now we got to start here for that, and finally what I want to do is grab my text tool here, and I am going to create my title. For the title, I'm going to just put some text in. Now we'll see across the top with the text tool. This I know, you know, I can do left. I can center it right away, and I'll just call this super awesome movie. Now we want this to be in a contrasting font because this is our primary title, so no, I don't like that. Don't like Chalkbuster for this. We're ready or playing with Skia down there. And if you want to go download yourself another font, something crazy, something fun that's appropriate for your movie, I would encourage you to do that. Actually, we'll just choose this one. Now, color-wise, if we look at colors that are happening, we can see that we have different colors happening down there at the bottom. Now let's make this into an actual, primary title-sized text. Now this orange is pulling from the orange down in the picture, but it is kind of contrasting with the red, so I'm not a fan there. Good part is we can choose our rectangle, click over here, and I can now choose a different color for it. And then I think that just creates a little better color view. So we've created now the main title page for our project. If we want, we can reuse this text as our kind of header text when we go to the different sections of our project. So when we're doing this, we're just adding more layers. Once we have a lot of our layers in place, then we are going to start grouping them. We'll use folders, which allows us to group the layers to make it much easier to manage things. So certain things, this is probably going to change as we go to different pages, but these other items are most likely going to stay the same, so we will be able to just leave those as a group, which will be nice. So the next thing I want to do is make a page for my trailer. So one thing we can do is we can take this layer that I have here and I can duplicate. I can right click, choose duplicate, layer, pull down menu, duplicate, or command or control and the letter J, and that duplicates it. We can see how it changed which is there. Turn that off. Now this is where I may have wanted to use centered text, and the reason why is now this moves over to the side. So if my text is centered, every time I change it, it's going to stay centered on screen, so I don't really have to worry about it. So I am going to use the built-in guide, so it's telling me, hey, look, now we're centered on the screen. I put the word trailer there, and for this, I'm going to put a rectangle that's going to represent that my movie is there. Let's see, let's go find a non-person picture that I can use as, we'll crop something out of it. That's our main movie. Let's see, that'll be a behind the scenes photo. All right, we'll just grab this. See, I can't see my main file right over there, so I can just copy and again navigate back to my main project, and if I paste, it pastes it in. Again, it's Gigantor, so what I can do is command minus a few times or alt scroll with my wheel, scale it down. Now with this, we're going to want to crop out part of it. So once I get the section that I want, so I'm going to just be grabbing a section of this, will show a super easy way that we can crop it out. So I'm going to be grabbing a rectangle section about there, so we'll say that this is good enough for it. And just call this trailer image on it. And the way that we can crop it down is we can just use the rectangular marquee tool. Now we do have options right now. Well, last time I used it, I was using a fixed size. So if I choose normal, it'll just be normal, and I can just draw the rectangle of about the area that I'm looking for. So I will just draw a rectangle selecting that portion right there. With that selected, we have the ability, actually, let's deselect here. Okay, I don't know exactly why it didn't work before, but now let's try. Nope. All right, so I have my selection made. It's going to be for my video, so I'll put this here. This bar that pulls up down here, we have this option to create a mask. So the square with a circle in it. So not the circle that's half black, half white, but the square with the circle in it. When I click on that, it's going to create a mask. So if I look at my layer over here on the right, when I click add a mask, you'll see it adds that mask to it. And wherever the mask has black, it hides it. Wherever there's white, we can see through. Now if I go back to my move tool, I can just simply take my artwork and I can move this around and put my trailer here. And then the final thing that I might want to do is, heck, I can just draw myself a triangle, and I'll set the color to kind of, I don't want it to be white because I have a ton of pop, but I'll just choose mostly white. And now I can just draw a little play triangle for my video. And if I put my cursor at the edge, actually that was easier to see when we're zoomed out. If the cursor's at the edge, you see how we get these arrows indicating it's going to allow us to rotate it. So now I'll zoom in a little bit more, and I can rotate it. Now if I hold down Shift, it starts snapping it. So now I can create my little play icon, and then I will just relocate that until it's in the middle of my trailer. So now we've been able to create our home page, we have our trailer page. Now we're going to work on creating our cast page, then we'll do a story page and a tickets page. Oh, and forgot, we want to do a kind of a behind the scenes. So we have extra photos for behind the scenes, so we'll have a number of thumbnails to go along with that. So that's easy enough to add. I can go to my text layer. I just double click, it automatically switches to the text tool. So now space 3 times and go behind the scenes. Okay, so now we've added that in as well. Perfect. So we can just keep adding to this as we work. So the home page is done, our trailer page is done. Now I'm going to take the title of trailer here, and I will use Command or Control J to duplicate the layer. I'm going to put that on top here because we'll be adding more. Turn off the word trailer, turn off my 2 pictures. Don't need that. Now I'm going to work and create cast. So once again, double click, C-A-S-T. So we have cast there. And with that, we're going to start bringing in some people. With this, we might do it a little bit different just so we don't have as many pixels to deal with. But we will bring in the pictures of the cast, and with that we'll have headshots and some placeholder text that we'll put in, and we'll experiment with that. And then with our other pictures, not the people, but let's see, so then we'll have some behind the scenes images that we will play with. So we've already grabbed that one, and then we'll, okay, there's another picture, there's another behind the scenes. So we'll grab some of these pictures and create our behind the scenes, but first we want to create some cast photos. So to create the cast photos here, what I'm going to do is just use my select tool and just zoom down a little bit so it's easier to see what's going to happen with that. And what I want to do is just make a selection. If I hold down Shift, it selects it as a square. So I want to select these as a square. So a hot tip is when you're drawing a selection, if you hold down then the space bar as well as Shift, you can move that rectangle around so you don't have to start over. So I can now make that selection right now. So I'm holding Shift, can let go of space bar. I've now sized it about the size that I'm looking for. And I let go of the mouse button before I let go of the Shift key. So now that's selected, and I can just simply copy these pixels here, and I'm going to close out this window so that, you know, progressively we'll try and reduce the windows that we're looking at. Just like here, we can probably now close this one. Down the trailer one, we might want to leave that. I might use that as behind the scenes as a full image, so we'll leave that one for now. Let's go back to our master page here, and once again I can just simply paste. We can see it's super big. Zoom out, grab the select tool, start scaling the image. So this allows me to start scaling that picture down. So we can do this in a couple of different ways. We could make a page and we could make these pop-ups that would go into it, or we can just leave this as the cast page. So we'll go simple in this first iteration on it, but there are some more complex things that we could do with it. So with that, I can say done. So I can click the arrow, click the done button, or even just hit the return key on the keyboard. That works as well. So once again, grab the marquee tool, start dragging, hold down shift. If I don't get it centered how I want, hold down the space bar, reposition rectangle, let go of space, and I can fine tune what I'm trying to grab with it. I think that's going to be about good. Again, let go of the mouse before any keys. Copy. We can close out this window here. Now we're back in the main project. Paste. Grab the move tool, which is the letter V. I can scale her down. We'll line that up with that guy and get it to be about the same size. So there's a couple of things we could, with this selected, we'll just say done for now. But when you have your rulers up, if you don't see your rulers, then you can go under the view pull down menu and choose rulers, Command or Control R, that pulls it up. And one thing you can do with the rulers is you can drag out a guide. Guides are really useful for lining things up when we're trying to make designs. So now if I move this and snap it on, it snaps into position. I can now scale this and it snaps on as well. It should. So now we've lined that up, done, so it's now the same size. So we've brought in two pictures. Let's go grab another person here. Again, grab the marquee tool, start dragging, hold down shift. If I need to reposition, hold down space bar. This is going to be interesting because he has a longer neck and head, trying to just get some color in so it just doesn't look weird. Again, let go of the mouse first. Copy, we'll close out his window. Paste. Zoom out so we can see it. Grab the move tool with the letter V. Scale it down. Probably would help if I had paid attention to the size of all of these, but now with that guide there, that's going to make it a lot easier to keep track of. So now we've got 3 in there. Grab number 4 again. Grab the marquee tool. Hold down shift to make it square. Space bar to reposition. Get framing that we're happy with. Let go of the mouse first. Copy. Close this one. And okay, apparently I forgot to hit done after we resize that one. So we'll paste in a moment. Go grab the move tool. Zoom out. So once again, it is nice that Photoshop does, yeah, so I forgot to hit done on that. But it's nice that Photoshop defaults to scaling proportionally, so I don't have to hold down Shift while I'm doing a scale. So I do enjoy that feature that is built into working with it now. So with that, you can see how we're able to line up our cast. If I wanted to if I hold down Shift and click on each of them with the Move tool, they're all selected, so now I can't even move them over and get it. So they're kind of centered on screen. Next thing I could do is I could grab my text tool and I could add some text underneath giving them names, so that would be something that you could add into yours. If we don't want to see our guides, we can go under View and choose let's see, where is my guides? Clear, new. All right, where is that? Under View, oh, Show, not under Guides, under Show. Guides on and off, we can do that, and that's Command or Control and semicolon. It's like I know the key command, I can't always find things in Photoshop off the menus because I'm so used to just using the key commands. So we're going to just call that good enough for now on the cast page. Now you will start to notice that we're getting a lot of layers here, and what we might want to do is start to organize this a little bit. And to achieve that, what we can do is we can add folders. So we have the home page stuff here. We're going to just leave that. Now the trailer page and trailer image and the triangle, those three layers are one. So I am going to just select them, click on the first one, hold down Command or Control, click on the next two, or click on one, the top one, hold down, click on the top one, hold down Shift, click on the bottom one, it chooses the entire group, and then click on the folder right here. And now that's group one. I'll just double click and call that trailer. So that now gives me the trailer. Now these layers are going to be for the cast. So I can shift click those layers, click here, double click on that, rename it to cast. So this organizes things a lot easier. So we're able to turn things on and off much nicer as we work with it. So that layer is currently turned off. That's our super awesome movie. If we go into the trailer here, go grab that layer right there, and I am going to Command J that, or Control J, and make, whoop, I didn't mean to put it there. Let's go put it above. So when you drag the layers, look where the blue line is. If it highlights the whole folder, it's going in it. If I go above, that layer is now on top, which is where I want it to be. So this time, this is going to be my story or synopsis. So once again, we'll zoom in a little bit. Double click. I'll write the story here. So that gives me that. Now if I want to put some text here that represents what the story is and don't want to have to read or type it all out, what's nice is to use what is called lorem ipsum, which is where we're able to put in dummy text to represent what we want. So with that, I am going to want to grab the text tool, and I'm going to want to find a, well, we don't want this layer active, so let's escape out of there, and so no layer is active. Now I can grab the text tool. So I look over here, no layer is currently selected. So now if I grab the text tool and want to choose a typeface, this is going to be for body text, so a lot of text. So I don't want to choose something super decorative. I just want something plain. Either a serif or a sans serif typeface would be my recommendation. So I am just going to choose Helvetica because that's a decent font for this. I'll just go with standard weight on it. I don't think I want it at 72. We probably are going to want something more like 24. We'll let the color, well, we'll choose a new color. We'll choose kind of a lighter color. As we look at the background, we are going to have to probably put something in the background to allow the text to exist. So now if I drag here, you can see it gives me a paragraph of Latin text. We'll left justify it so it looks a little bit better. Click off. All right. So that gives me one paragraph of it, but it doesn't extend it further. So if we want to have more lorem ipsum text, we could just keep copy pasting weird variants of that, and that works. There is a website, Lipsum, that will give you lorem ipsum text. So if we go to lipsum.com, it gives us the history of it, and then I can choose how many paragraphs of text I want. If I click generate lorem ipsum, it now gives me the text. So it gives me a bunch of text to work with. I think that's probably more than I need, so I'm just going to choose those 3 paragraphs right now. And with those selected, we'll go back into my text here, paste it in, and now it gave me text. And it's showing me that I have more text than fits in my text box. So if I make this bigger, we can see so that's all the text. So I can decide if I like this, if I want to maybe shrink it down a little bit. I could even go like 22. Oh, need to select it all first, and then go to 22, and that shrinks it down. That works a little bit better. Now we can see that our text is, whoa, didn't mean to scroll there, sorry about that. A little bit hard to read when we are on this background, so we probably need to do something about that. And again, there's any number of ways that we can go about doing this. In this case, what I'm going to do is go use my trusty rectangle tool, and I'm going to add a colored box behind it. So with that, I know I want it to be kind of dark-ish, a little bit more on the blue side. And then when we put that down, we're going to then modify its opacity once we've drawn it. So I'm going to draw a box, giving some margins around my text, trying to make it look relatively consistent. And you may look and go, oh no, the text went away. Well, we draw and put the text behind it. So if we like a solid color, we can certainly do that. But I do have opacity for my layer, and I can simply pull it down. And we can see how that now does make it a little bit easier to see the text behind it. Now, in this case, I think I need to be not quite as transparent with it. And if I decide I want to change that blue color, I can click on the box here, and I could choose a different color. So I can then click on my color picker, and I could move into a different color and maybe add a little bit more richness. And then that purple has a little more contrast with what's there, though I think I'd rather almost use more along the lines of that blue. So let's click here, click on that, and now we can just grab our color picker that chooses that blue, click OK, and that's pretty good. We'll pull it down a little bit because it's just a little more intense than I want. All right, so now I have some text, and it gives the illusion. So we use the lorem ipsum because it gives us text that looks like real text, but we're not distracted by what the words are, so we can just see it as a visual design element. Next, what we want to do, once again, take our title here, and I am going to duplicate this once more, Command J, and we'll drag that up. We'll take these story layers here that I've created, highlight those, click on folder, double click on the folder, and call this story. Now when we go into the story copy here, well, we'll turn off the existing story, double click on the story here, and I will call this behind the scenes. So now we have behind the scenes, And we need to bring some of those photos in. So let's see, all right, here's a photo I'm going to work with. So we're going to make 2 pages. We're going to have one page that has all the thumbnails, then we'll have the page with the full-size image that will overlay on top. So with this selected here, now that I can see the movie master, another way we can move it over beyond copy pasting is I can now grab the layer icon. So I grab the little picture here and I drag this over, and then I go into the document here and let go, and now that puts it in. And now we can zoom out a little bit. We can see that picture is really, really big. And what I'm going to do is scale it down a bunch and get it small enough that now I'm going to grab a section of it to make my thumbnail. So be about here. And now with this, if I were to change my style to a fixed size, then I'm going to choose, so if I click and see there's a 400, that's probably too big. So for my thumbnail, I want to go 200 and 200. Now when I do that, we can see now that gives me kind of the box of now when I'm trying to create that thumbnail, figuring out where's an interesting section. So instead of doing a thumbnail where it's just a shrunk down version of the whole image, I like to do thumbnails that are shrunk down but cropped so it creates something interesting to look at. So with that selected, we'll use our mask tool again, and now that creates a little icon for that image. So we're going to we have all the pictures that we can bring into it, and then we need a larger version of our behind the scenes where then that image is going to sit on top. So let me go back to the car here. This is probably where copy pasting might actually be a better option. Now we have the car here, and with that I am going to use the move tool and we'll resize this down. So we have a couple options. One, we could make the whole picture image so it occupies everything. We could also decide that, images will shrink them down to fit, but when they are the same proportions, we might just let that image be the whole image, and then as this becomes a large image, we'll just make it that you can click on the image and it goes away. So we're going to do kind of a lightbox effect with it when we're building out our prototype inside of Figma. So this will, so that by double clicking over here, apparently that is the same as clicking done, or I accept that transformation, and I'll call this BTS1 on it. So we'll try and correspond these to the thumbnails as we work with them. Now we can turn that off. And there's the car. We can close the car. Let's go to the next picture. Nope. That's just another person. Not going to work with that. All right, so now we'll stick this image in. And as I go to put this image in with it, I can even just select all, copy, go back into our main document, paste it in. We can see it's Gigantor. So we'll have one copy that we are going to need to shrink way, way down until we kind of decide on what needs to be in the 200 by 200. So now I'll find part of the view I'm looking at and make sure the view is in the photo. I'm going to crop out the face on it in the thumbnail, grab the move tool, we'll move it up so that now we're matching what's there. And going to label this so it's easy to keep track of. This will be BTS1 small. And then this will be BTS2 small. And now let's paste in our whole picture. Zoom out. Move it up. So we'll set this picture. So key thing I want to make sure is that the picture is filling top and bottom, but because we have the extra around the edge here, what we're going to set up with this is an additional kind of obscuring layer that fades it out. So it looks beneath this, the whole background area gets faded out. So with that, just going to go grab my rectangle tool, set the fill color to black, and just draw a black rectangle and set the opacity here at 50% and put it behind our image. So the image comes up. So we can see we're looking at, well, we need the thumbnail. If we click on the thumbnail, then we get the large image that shows up. We've grayed out the background behind it. On the car, we don't see it because the car occupies the whole screen. So again, it's just a way to go about doing this. So now let's just name our layers so we can keep track. BTS2, and this rectangle we may need black fade. We may need that for some of the other images as we bring those in, so we'll just leave that there. I don't believe it's going to correspond to it. And all right, and we'll just bring these other two in. So select all, copy, close this out, go here, go on top. So I'm going to just put the BTS, fade right over the main one. Or actually, no, we'll want it near the top, I suppose. And probably organize, put all the big ones on top and all the small ones. That's going to make, I think, more sense eventually. So we have the all the thumbnails under here, the fade, and then the big ones. So with that, I will go first my thumbnails. I'll paste it in. Go, wow, that's really big. Zoom way out. Grab the move tool. So you can see a lot of this is just simply rinse and repeat. Get that small enough to become a thumbnail. Oh, let's turn, forgot to turn that thumbnail back on. Now we'll move this over. Shrink it down a little more. I think that's good. And now we'll go grab the marquee tool. Oh, done. Now grab the marquee tool. And I can decide what I want. Make my selection. Crop. Move tool. Move it over. So now I have that thumbnail in place. So that's good. Now we'll go to the top one here, paste once more for the big, and this becomes now a matter of resizing. So again, a lot of it is just simply rinse and repeat to create what we're trying to do here. So I can now scale that down. It's mostly centered. We'll click done and say that's good. If I turn on the background fade, there it is. All right. So we have that in place. I can turn that off, leave the other thumbnail on, go back to the previous thumbnail. We'll go back to our final photo, select all, Command or Control A, copy. Now we'll close that. We don't need that open anymore. I will paste. Shrink it down. This is where having a Gigantor monitor is super handy. There is a way to shrink from the middle. If you hold down Alt or Option while you're doing it, it will shrink something from the middle. I think actually that is more what I like. I'm gonna then grab my thumbnail out of that section. So now I'll hit done. Marquee tool, click. Grab that, click the mask icon. So the mask icon is super handy because it's really fast and fun, and we do have the option that we can manipulate to move things around afterward. Go back to my move tool and reposition things. Until it is lined up. Now if I turn on the guides that I had for the headshots, we can see I'm putting these behind the scene photos in a different place, so I can just click on a ruler and move it. And I got really close when I tried to line this up. So hey, there you go. A little bit more over to be lined up. Command or Control and semicolon, guides go away. Now we can see there is our project. If we haven't saved recently, I probably should save right now. So now I can have my behind the scenes thumbnails page, and then I turn on the black overlay, and now I can turn on each of the behind the scenes images. Oh, we still need one more, I forgot. So with that selected, let's just zoom out, paste. Got it small enough that I can kind of grab it. And then I'll just grab the middle so that it will scale until it snaps to the size of the document. Hit done. So it's now been scaled down. Perfect. Now with that fade, kind of feeling so if we go with my gradient here, and if I click on, I'm going to do a radial gradient from black to black, but change its transparency down to, so it's transparent. So well, I'm going to try and make it, kind of black in the middle and then fade out. Oh, can't do it there. Let's just add a new layer that we're going to put the gradient on. I suppose I could have used a gradient fill, a layer effect, and that would have worked too. Oh, I'm going to do a linear gradient. I mean radial gradient. Delete what's there. Let's try again. Yeah, it's not really. I don't think we're really gaining anything with it. Thought it'd just be a fun attempt. Don't be afraid to try things, and it doesn't always work. That's just part of doing business. All right, so I have my different behind the scenes items. Just gonna, let's close that so I can see some more layers. We'll grab all of these behind the scene layers, shift click, select everything, and with that, click on a folder, double click on the folder name, BTS. Okay, and I will leave it up to you to create a page for tickets. You can do whatever you want for that because we're not doing a complete thing. I'm just trying to provide some core instruction here. All right, so with that, we have our main home page. Maybe I want an image there. Maybe I want this super awesome movie to be even treated a little bit differently on it, which I kind of do because we have a lot of empty space down there. All right, and now with the text tool selected, we can center it. Go back to the move tool. I'm going to move it over, make it even bigger. 150. Okay, so now some things that we can do is down at the bottom you have the FX. So these are layer styles that you can apply. And one of the ones that we could apply here, I could do an outer glow. So I'm going to select that. And outer glow will come up. Let's zoom in a little bit more so we can see it. The layer style panel as we look here. So right now I'm going to make that glow bigger so we can apply that glow into it. So we get some fun with that. Don't think I want to use white. Let's try and actually go for some color. I like how that starts to tie it in a little bit with what's already there. The pink and purple doesn't work. The yellow, the green gets a little awkward. But as we move into more of the teal, that reflects some of what's there. So it's almost like the background is applying some glow into what is happening. Now we could even do a gradient overlay and go into the gradient overlay. And I mean, if we go look at basics, so these are all presets. If we were to choose something, you can see how we could play with the colors. It creates the gradient there and we can redo it. That kind of works. That fits the colors a little bit better. This color I just need to change a little bit. So I click on the color tab here. Transparency is up there. And with that color, I want to go a little redder and just so it has a little more intensity at the top. I kind of like that. So we'll say okay there. That's good. And sometimes it's even fun to do an inner glow. So we can see if we go too much, because that just kind of adds a little extra pop on the letters. And now as we play with that inner glow and change it so it's color, you can do some pretty interesting things as you play around with it. So right now they're using the screen blending mode. If we change some of the blending modes around here, we'll get some other effects. So if I were to choose something like multiply, it starts to almost become darker. So it's adding that little bit of green in, which is what I want. It's starting to give my letters a little bit of dimension and fun. If we go too far, it just kind of becomes washed out. So I'm trying to find that happy medium of how I want it. Looking at that square, I'm kind of happy with how it looks. So now as a title, this has a little bit more pop to it. So this is now my main title that I have. Oh, close up trailer. So we don't need to see what's in any of these folders except for behind the scenes because we will have to export those out as individuals, but the other ones we will do separately. So now I have the core pages set up for this, and what we're going to do is now export out as images. because the images are what we will need to use inside of Figma. So if I go under File and choose Export, well, before I do that, I'm just going to save, so I have everything saved now. File, Export, Quick Export PNG. This is the easiest, fastest way to get the images out. And this is my home screen. So now, first off, I need to go into the correct folder. So I'm choosing the folder where those source images were. And I will call this what would be nice is making sure, you know, they have the same prefix on everything, so it's easy to find it. So I'll just call this movie dash home. And now I can turn off my main title. No, not that one. This one. Turn off my main title. Now we can, let's go and turn all our layers back on that we kind of turned off for everything. Oh no, I guess that was only in trailer. So we can turn on cast, turn on story, turn on behind the scenes. Okay. So turn on trailer. Now we have the trailer there. File, export, quick export PNG. This will be movie trailer. Turn that off. Turn on my cast page. So again, you could add text under them. You could even make this behind the scenes where we have individual detail pages. I click on the headshot. It goes to a page where I get their little IMDb credit, where find out what they've worked on, what their history is, blah blah blah. Again, once more, export, quick export PNG. This is going to be movie cast. Turn that off, turn on story. Export, quick export PNG, movie story. And now the one that's going to take a little bit more effort is our behind the scenes. So I'm going to turn off the parts that I don't need. So here's my main behind the scenes page. I do want to move my thumbnails over, so I will shift click all of those, and with the move tool selected, if I hold down the shift key and an arrow key, I can move 10 pixels at a time until I feel like I am visually centered. I could also just grab it and move it with the mouse, but I like using the arrow keys. I just feel more accurate sometimes. So this is my main behind the scenes. So this one, again, file, export, quick export. Try again, file, export, quick export PNG, movie BTS. Now we'll turn on the black fade, and here we go. This will be our first one. So this is movie export. So movie BTS1. Turn that off, turn on the second one. Movie -BTS2. Turn it off, turn on the next layer. Quick export. Movie BTS3. And I'm realizing I forgot to name those over here. I'll just do that real quick. BTS3. And our last one, BTS4. Okay, so now we'll go and save out this one. And realize my naming is a little bit off here because this is BTS3. This is the third one I missed. Well, we have one, and then 2, 3. Or did I already save 3 and not pay attention? Very possible. Turn on number 4. Export, quick export. Movie BTS4. So we have BTS1, BTS2, BTS3, BTS4, and our thumbnails for it. Just double checking that those all lined up. Perfect. So with that, I have created the files that I need to be able to now construct an interactive prototype inside of Figma, which is where we will pick up next time. Good luck and have fun.